With the reintroduction of the Chevy Camaro and Dodge Challenger, the pony wars are heating up again. Those cars even look like the originals, with a tip of the hat of the muscle car era from the late 60s and early 70s.
This Mustang is another retro-styled muscle car. In fact, it's the original pony car, and it's been in production since 1964. So what that means is while Chrysler and Dodge have been fighting to recapture what they lost when their vehicles went out of production, Ford never relinquished it.
In fact, Ford has a distinct advantage because they've improved the Mustang year after year, making it the clear choice for anyone who enjoys driving. Now that there is additional competition, Ford has updated the Mustang for 2010 with some tasty improvements.
This is one hot-looking car, and this deep blue metallic has really been turning heads. Now, they've made some small tweaks in the styling department, but all of these small tweaks have really accumulated to give this Mustang a more athletic and aggressive look. The angle of the bulging hood over the four headlights, along with the crisp lines and more pronounced rear fenders, make the car look like a late 60s Mustang. These changes, in combination with the flush windows and modern bumpers, also portray a thoroughly modern car.
Now, the one thing on this car that gets the cool factor by passers-by, the sequence taillights at the back. Now, they're going from the inside to the outside, signaling, obviously on this lens here, a left-hand turn lane. It's very cool. Now, I don't remember the Ford Mustang in the 60s ever having sequence taillights. I could be wrong on that, but I do remember the Mercury Cougar having that. In fact, my dad had a 70 Cougar in sunburnt orange with a black vinyl roof. Oh, what a car. That did have it. Regardless whether it's a Mercury or Ford, still cool. A panoramic glass roof is now an option, but an expensive one at $2,200. I would, however, spend the extra $900 for the optional 18-inch wheels over the base 17-inch wheels on the GT.
Got to be honest, I think that the interior on this new Mustang GT is definitely what sets it apart from the Challenger and the Camaro. Now, the fit and finish is by far the best that we've seen on any other Mustangs, and you get really cool upgrades like these very comfortable bucket seats and contrasting leather colors, so they really pop and make it look really bold and classy.
The large gauges behind the steering wheel are surrounded in chrome and have a design and font reminiscent of the 60s era. The Mustang feels much more compact than the new Camaro and Challenger, which is a good thing because those cars have a very wide stance on the road.
So, hands down, this new Mustang is the winner in this pony race for the interior fit and finish. And with its smaller dimensions, it must be a more nimble car, right? The GT is equipped with a 4.6-liter V8 engine with 315 horsepower and 325 pound-feet of torque. Now, this is a smaller V8 engine than the one that's found in the Challenger and the Camaro, but it's more versatile and responsive. Off-the-line power is good, but the real strength of this engine is the mid-range torque for easy passing and high-speed acceleration. The electronic throttle is very responsive, making it easy to blip the throttle on downshifts for perfect gear changes with the 5-speed manual transmission. If you opt for the automatic version, it's also a 5-speed unit. And if you like the GT, but you want to get even more attention, then the convertible is available too. I have to be honest, I'm not usually a fan of muscle cars because they're really big, aggressive, loud, and uncomfortable, so they're not the kind of car that I could see myself driving every day. But this summer I had a chance to drive the new Camaro and the new Challenger, and I got into this new Mustang, and I really like it. The seats are comfortable, the dash is well laid out, everything's easy to see, the clutch is not too hard, the steering's responsive, and the suspension is almost soft enough that you could describe the ride as being really comfortable. I could actually see myself driving this car every day.
Even though the Mustang still incorporates a solid rear axle instead of independent suspension, it proves to be very planted on the road, never really showing the lack of sophistication of the setup. Just in case the rear end were to step out of line, standard traction and stability control are there to keep the Mustang heading down the road in the right direction. Now, over a few weeks, I had a chance to drive the Challenger from Dodge, the Camaro, and then this Mustang GT, of course. And it's when you get in the Mustang GT, it's instantly obvious that this is the driver's car. It's a smaller car, the engine is more responsive and manageable, the transmission definitely has more finesse to it. It's the driver's choice. Those other cars just feel bulky and more like touring cars. Sure, those other cars might be fresh and even more dramatic in their retro approach, but the Mustang is like a gem that's been polished continuously over the 40+ years it's been in production. I had so much fun because the Mustang has arrived at a place that makes it a good car regardless of the styling. It's easy to drive, the handling has good feedback, the engine is refined, and the way it all comes together makes it just simply a good car.
So for just over $35,000, this V8 pony car has a lot to offer, and it's probably some of the most fun you can have for this price, and it looks hot. Zach?
Absolutely. You know what I like about this new Mustang, and I have to give kudos to Ford. It's not just a great pony car, it's just generally a great car. And Ford is doing a lot right, and they're being rewarded with good sales. This Mustang is exactly the same thing. The styling's gorgeous. It speaks for itself on the outside. The inside is head and shoulders above the competition. It's well thought out. It's functional. It's well put together. It drives very nicely. They've sorted out a lot of the shortcomings of the older model, especially that solid rear axle. It really is not so bad to drive. And also the handling is good. It's got a nice feel to it. The only downside, Lacey, is the price. Sure, just over $35,000 gets you entry into some fun with some V8 power, but this car we have here, you add in leather seats, you add in the panoramic sunroof, you add in the backup camera, you add up all these extras like the bigger wheels, you're well over $40,000. It's no longer a value performance car. It's more a want than a need. But other than that, the base model, I think, does offer good value. What do you think?
Well, Zach, I agree with you on a lot of those points, but I also have a few little things. I really like the fact that out of all the muscle cars, this one you can get in a convertible. That's a big seller for me. And yeah, the price of the features do add up, but the fact that they are available, like the panoramic sunroof, the nav system, the backup camera, it's great to at least have them as an option. The seats are incredibly comfortable, and what I like with this muscle car is that it's actually a nice car to drive, and you could drive it every day. And on the downside, I'll be honest, there's nothing about this car I didn't like. I really enjoyed driving it.
The only downside is if you want to drive this thing all year round, you got to have 2 sets of tires, a proper set of winter tires, if you want to drive this thing in the snow.
Want more? Go to drivingtelevision.com and find out how the engineers tuned the Bullett's exhaust to get that perfect sound, and just how wide an appeal the Mustang really has.